Hello, and welcome to another episode of Function Better. Here we talk to mindset coach and Living for Success founder Aziza White about her journey into the work she does and how we can go about making lasting and beneficial changes in our lives. So, following on from our discussion in the last talk with Safiya and Johns, where they were talking about New Year's resolutions and whether they were really a good idea or not, and also they were trying to come up with some ideas about how we can go about making positive changes in our lives, we thought it would be a great idea to talk to mindset coach and founder of Living for Success, Aziza White, who is going to hopefully show us how we can work towards being the best version of ourselves, as she put in a New Year's post recently, sort of prayer to her followers. So without further ado, here is Aziza White. Aziza, I've known you for quite a long time. I'd say over 20 years, probably, something like that. And as I remember, you know, you've worked in personnel for a long time. So I think you've kind of been involved in helping people in different ways, especially in their working life for a long period of time. But I know that recently you've kind of moved into somewhat of a different direction of your own venture, if you like. And I wondered if you could just tell us more about what led you to that and what that was all about, really.
Yeah. First of all, assalamu alaikum to those that understand. And hello, welcome, greetings to everybody else. Okay. Thank you so much for inviting me here today. So really excited to be here with you talking about this. So so I'm in HR. Personnel is the old title for HR. It's now called Human Resources HR. And I've been doing that for around well over 20 years. And when I was back in college, I always wanted to help people. And so when I discovered personnel, which it was called at the time, I jumped into it straight away. So, you know, as time goes on, I realized that actually HR is great, but you can only help people so far because you are guided by the organization policies, procedures, culture. When you want to help somebody, you've got like a boundary, you've got like a framework, and you can't really go outside of that. And there was also a point where I was getting quite unhappy in my HR role. I thought I actually wanted to be a teacher. You know, don't ask me what led me to that. I absolutely admired the teachers, but couldn't do it. So long story cut really short, I looked up online, you know, about different ways to work with children, came across coaching, then ended up at the coaching academy for a free weekend, was absolutely sold on coaching. Absolutely sold. So that started my coaching journey. From there, what I did a couple of diplomas with the Coaching Academy. And from there, I've just set up my business and I've been coaching women. And, you know, it's just been a wonderful journey. That was almost, I think it's about 10 years ago now. You know, how time flies. And at the time when I started that journey, I was like, didn't really even know what I was doing. There was no such thing as doing stuff over Zoom calls. It was telephone coaching, and it was a very different style of coaching as well.
So did your human resources job role change as you got into the coaching, or did that stay the same?
Not really, no, because what I do in HR is really about it's managing cases. So it's a lot of the employment law stuff in practice. And as I said, you know, in that role, I can only help people so much. So bring it right up to date. I often see things that are going on between employees and managers and between employees themselves that can be resolved through coaching. Actually, because of my HR role, I'm within a certain boundary on how I deal with that. Yeah, so I can't be using...
So it limits you a bit.
Absolutely. So I can't be using neuro-linguistic programming techniques, you know, taking them through techniques that, you know, is partly hypnosis and helping them to deal with things. You know, I have to be within those boundaries. I mean,
you just said something, neuro-linguistic programming. Tell me more about that, because I've heard it mentioned here and there over the years, and I've not really studied it or looked at it in any particular depth. So, you know, give us a little bit of an insight into that. What is NLP, as I've heard it?
Yeah, NLP. Fantastic, brilliant. So I think it was 2017, I started my NLP journey because I knew this would take my coaching to the next level, but also I wanted it for my own personal development as well. So I went on this NLP course, a practitioner course, a master course, and recently I'm also a trainer of NLP. And NLP really, in a nutshell, is a collection of techniques that embody what excellence is. So if you want to do A, what behaviors, attitudes, values do you need to have to do A, to be successful at A? And so therefore, all the techniques are guiding that person to be that person, yeah, to do the thing that they want to do.
Right.
Okay. So it's really about utilizing the unconscious mind, yeah, using like the patterns of your mind, your speech, yeah, and how that all feeds into your behavior. Okay. So there's internal patterns that we're running all the time, unbeknown to us. But NLP really gets down to the heart of those patterns and enables the person to let go of things that have been holding them back, you know, take on board new ways of thinking to enable them to achieve a certain result. So it's really a collection of techniques and tools. It's a collection of excellence, really, on how to live your life. And what I found by using the NLP techniques is that the whole world of the unconscious mind opened up to me. I didn't realize how fundamental it was to really get down to the unconscious level. And even in your spiritual life as well, it's like the bridge to get to your higher self. Wasn't even aware of that, Aishah. Was not even aware of it. So it's led into, yes, mindset techniques, how to do this, how to drop that emotion, change that belief, have these values, etc., etc. But also for me on a personal level, it's really enabled me to open the door to how to get deeper on my own spiritual and soul journey.
Yeah, it's so important to be able to access or understand as well the unconscious sort of influences that bring to bear into our lives. And often, you know, we don't realize when we're being influenced by unconscious things, you know, which are then taking over and affecting us and affecting our decision making and affecting our mindsets, you know, and affecting our exterior behavior and so forth. I think it's so important. And that's one of the things I think Johnson and Safiya were mentioning in their little discussion, was about mindset and how, you know, that can be a big barrier to people's decisions about, you know, their New Year's resolutions and things like that, because often that is a blockage where they don't have the right approach mentally in you know, and they're unconscious as well, to be able to make those changes in a positive direction.
I'd like to say something about New Year's resolutions. I don't believe in them.
Yeah, well, that's what they pretty much said as well. I think you'll find.
I really, really don't believe in them, because every moment of every day is like a new year. Once you've decided, your new year starts from the decision that you've made. Yeah, exactly. And wait until the beginning of, there's so much pressure, isn't there? At the beginning of the year, you have this new, this fresh start, and I'm going to be like this, or I'm going to be like that, and I'm going to achieve that. And then somewhere, not even probably past the first quarter, you kind of give up, because the mindset at an unconscious level is still running the same pattern. And guess what? It will still run the same pattern, even though you don't get the good results that you want in your life. Yeah. Because your unconscious mind, your reptilian mind, thinks that it's doing you good. It's like, oh, well, if we just run this pattern, it keeps her safe. Yeah. It keeps her happy. It keeps her knowing what she normally does is fine. So it just keeps replicating it, and you now need to give it different commands. You need to consciously give it different commands so that you can have a different result. But it doesn't just happen with just an empty affirmation at the beginning. Yes, I'm going to lose weight, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to be a better person.
I think that's what they were saying as well. You know, they did say that, you know, that you know, often it doesn't work because, you know, people do end up giving up, you know, and it's much better to have, as they said, sort of they mentioned the book, the Tiny Habits book, which my husband has and which I've read some of, about where you know, just doing tiny changes and just doing that consistently and giving yourself triggers and things like that to get focused on particular things. And they were talking about some other sort of things as well, about how we always, you know, there's always this diet starts on a Monday and so on and things like that, you know, because people have that perception, don't they? We'll leave it to them. But no, like you said, you know, once you make that decision, I'm going to do something, don't say, well, I'm doing it on Monday or do it New Year, or, you know, you've made that decision. So let's do something about that right now, in the here and now. So what kind of so in your work that you're doing at the moment, tell me what's kind of happening for you right now? What's all your stuff doing? I heard you talk something about, you call it living for success, living for success, right? And I've heard about self-mastery. I saw something on one of your posts about self-mastery. So tell us a bit more about what you're doing, really.
Okay, so I set up Living for Success as a limited company. I think it was back in 2015, but I can't remember. Then I made it dormant because I wasn't doing much with business. And then when I did my NLP training, I just opened the doors and I started coaching again. So Living for Success is my registered company, okay? But more than that, Living for Success is my own personal path, and it's also my mission to enable women to live for success in every single breathing moment of the day. Because when you hear of success, you think it's something like grandiose, and it's all about, I've achieved this, I've got this much this, I've got this money, I've got 10 children or what have you. This is success in one sense, but real success, like grounded, soul-led success, is so much deeper than that. And when your success is grounded and led by your soul, what does that mean? Anything that nourishes your soul. Because remember, you can have success, but you damage your soul, right? Yeah, in the process, you become this person. It's like, who am I? I'm not even happy. And when you're not happy, your soul is just shrinking, it's dimming, right? It's light, it's very shady, yeah? But when you're living for success and you're nourished, your soul livens up. And then also you can make decisions in your life that are in alignment, yeah? Your values. So much comes out of this it's where you start from. So many of us start from the branches. That's what I used to do. I'll organize my time, I'll do this thing and I'll do that thing, but it just wasn't sticking. So living for success really is about your inner success first and foremost, grounded in what nourishes my soul, yeah? And it's a path and a mission for me. It's also quite a cute name, wouldn't you agree?
Living for Success.
Yes.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's a great name. I think, and now that you've explained it in the terms that you have, it's much more deeper. The meaning is much deeper for me, because like you say, you could think of living success all about making people money and this and that. But obviously, as we know each other for a long time. We come from a more spiritual sort of approach to things. That it has to be that inner part of you is where the stuff is coming from. It has to be coming from there, and that part of you, that inner part of you has to be nourished first, like you say.
Absolutely. Because what do we say? We want success in this life and success in the hereafter, whatever that means for everybody. Wherever you think the soul goes after it's left, you want success in this life and in the hereafter. So it's a much deeper meaning. And I have a Facebook group, a free Facebook group called Self Mastery. And really, self mastery is all about starting with yourself. All right. It's the be, do, have game. We want what we want, but we're not prepared to do what we do. And we're not prepared to be who we need to be, to do the things that we need to do to get what we want. So do you see that goes round?
Yeah, I think I saw that written somewhere. So it's be first, then do, and then have. So not have, not the other way around, or not the thing first. You have to be the thing first. So give us something, tips about how we can start to be what we need to be.
Oh, I love this question. Absolutely love this question, because it's so much more simpler than people think. And it's not a big secret, right? So where we really start from is getting grounded in our essence, okay? Because that's your true self. I mean, you could be the most talented person, you could have all the characteristics, the attributes, all those things that you need. However, when you start from identifying with your true soul essence, then you're starting from, it's like planting, isn't it, right? You're starting from the soil, you make sure that soil is nice and juicy, for want of a better word, and fresh, and it looks good. It's not dry and horrible and crumbling. You're trying to put a seed in there, and it's just not growing. So that's where you start from. And how do you do this? You start to get still. You take moments in the day where you just get still. Because in those moments when you're still, you are filling your cup. You are filling your cup, and you'll be amazed at how that moment of nourishment, how it will feed into your day.
I think that's an amazing thing what you said that, because you remember I did counselling training long time ago, but the very first thing I think that we learned on that one of the courses that I was on was to impart stillness, one has to be still within oneself. I think it was a Chinese proverb, probably. And I've always remembered that, and I've always focused on that as something that I want to get. And I don't know that I'm there yet, but because I think as women who've got children or whatever, it's very hard for women particularly to find those moments of stillness. I think, we're always pulled and pushed in different directions by our kids or whatever, especially if you've got kids and if you've got work as well, then you're being pulled and pushed in so many different directions that it is hard to then take that time to be still in oneself.
And this is exactly the reason. This is exactly the reason why I help busy working women. And you could be working from home, you could work in corporate, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, it's still work. Yeah, because we have that additional element to integrate into our lives. So whether that's helping our husbands with our businesses, right, Aishah? Still work. Yeah. Yes, it's still work. And this is the key thing. You see, I have said about going back down to your soul essence, your unconscious mind. The story we keep telling ourselves is that it's hard. The story we keep telling ourselves is that we don't have any time. The story we keep telling ourselves that we have to get it. You can't get something that is always there. You can't get, it's almost like you're saying, I need to get my hand, and your hand is here. All you need to do is acknowledge it, look at it, touch it, and you acknowledge your hand is there. You don't have to get your hand. Same with silence. It's always available for you. Same with connecting with your soul. It's always there with you. The difference that makes a difference is your awareness. Yeah. Because when you're aware, that's when you connect. So we need to start changing these stories in our minds. And then when we start to change that, like you said, we're juggling this, we're juggling that, there's different roles that we need to fill in our lives. I remember speaking to somebody the other day, and they said, so Aziza, how do we as women, juggle all these hats that we have? I said, take the hats off and find yourself. Then you start to look at the different roles. Because when we start from the hats, we're going crazy. We're trying to do it all, and we're also trying to look good on top of it, right? Yeah? Okay? So when you start with yourself, okay, because if everything was taken away from us, who's left? Yeah. And that's the reality. Who's left? It's just us. If we were in a situation where we had to just deal with life on our own, we're relying on our inner resources, right?
Of course.
So that needs to be with us regardless of the situation, regardless. That needs to be with us. So you don't have to get there. You're already there. You just need to tap in, is all.
Yeah, so it's just a case of plugging into the socket, as some people call it, don't they?
Get that socket plugged in.
Yeah, plugging into the socket and getting that energy from the universe or whatever people want. We would obviously, how we would describe that, but you're connecting into the higher source, the higher power. And I
mean, the way I see that, just out of interest, you mentioned the universe. Whether you say universe or God, it's all about that, because I believe in God as God, Allah. Okay. So if I believe God created the universe, then I have to believe that I get things delivered via the universe, because there's certain laws of the universe. Yeah, I didn't create them, and we know the law of attraction is a classic one. I mean, obviously depending on how you implement that, but who you attract who you are. You actually really, really do. what you give out is what you get back. These are universal laws. They're universal laws. They're things that, and you know, I totally respect the whole energetic and vibrational field that we're operating in. How can you go into a room and feel an energy and nobody said anything to you?
Yeah.
And that's not just a feeling. You know, you go like, oh, nobody said anything to them. Everybody looks nice, but you get this feeling.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, I feel that we shouldn't be afraid or weary about saying things like the universe, because it's all, as far as I'm concerned, it's all of God's creation, and it's there for a purpose. Just like our infinite intelligence is in us. We need to tap in. This is what we need to tap into. Oh, don't get me started, Aisha. Don't get me started.
I can start going on about that. I mean, there's a book that I've recently got on Kindle again. I think I accidentally bought it again. I realized I already had it, which is The Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton, I think his name is. And he's all about energy. And he's actually somebody who discovered the idea of epigenetics. Is one of he's one of the first people to come across epigenetics and how we're influenced so much by our environment and the energies in our environment, and positive and negative ones. And he talks a lot in that book about the placebo effect and the nocebo effect. That's all about those different energies that we're picking up on, and that then affect us at a cellular level, even, you know, not just in terms of our behavior and our mannerisms and our actions and etc. and our mindset, but also in, well, how our mindset affects us at a cellular level as well. So it's you know, fascinating stuff, and
it's real. It's just because we can't physically touch it, it makes it no less real than the table I'm looking at in front of me. Everything is energy. How do people heal themselves? You know, why do we say to people it's about your mindset? It's about, you know, where you put your focus on, because when you put your focus on the sickness, you're going to get more sickness. When you put your focus on the healing and the goodness and the abundance, and knowing that you have every single resource in you to get better. And people actually get through.
It is amazing how powerful that can be. And I think that equally, as it says, the nocebo effect, the opposite can also be true, that if people are consumed with fear and anxiety and you know, anger as well, and other kinds of negative emotions, that can have an impact on them as well, in terms of their ability to heal and progress. However, having said that, it just came to my mind something that I was thinking about before doing this interview, which is that our negative emotions can actually be our greatest teacher. And I wanted you to maybe think about it, or answer to that. What do you think about that?
I did a post on that. I think, I can't remember, I've done a post on that, and I've said negative emotions are absolutely invaluable to you, because it tells you something. It's a message. Okay, it tells you when something is not right. It tells you when your boundaries are being pushed. It also is a trigger for you to say, okay, so what's going on inside of me that I need to deal with? Negative emotions are absolutely normal. What is the problem when we live within those negative emotions, and we don't let them go, and they fester and they grow. And so that irritation then comes into some kind of rage, and when I say rage, it doesn't have to be a rage that it's like an outward rage, but it can be like, you know, that thunder roll rage. It's just in people's actions, it's just in people's voices, that turns into resentment, and you know, the whole world is against me, and all of those sorts of things. So negative emotions 100% are absolutely essential. We need to experience them, we need to understand ourselves, and we need to deal with them. So this is not like a Pollyanna thing, right? Everything's happy and, you know, it's nothing like that. But when you look at the good, when you're coming from the perspective of abundance, of peace of mind, you can find the solutions much quicker, and they will be much more effective and longer lasting. There's things that I go through now, even with my own children, that months ago would have driven me absolutely crazy. But I made a commitment to myself. My peace of mind is my goal. And if I have to give up being right in the moment for the peace of mind to remain intact, alhamdulillah, I'm fine. It's good. It's fine. Because when we hold on to that position, I'm right, I want you to understand me. Aishah, I want you to understand my point of view, you know, and for you to say I'm right, that's actually a reflection of your own perspective of the world. That's actually a reflection on you. That's a reflection on our need to be in control. So if you agree with me, is it going to change me somehow? No. Other than maybe make my ego a bit more inflated because, oh yes, she agrees with me, but it doesn't really change anything. And so therefore we need to really be in a position whereby we have to draw a line in the sand and say, this is me, this is what I stand for. It's not going to be easy, you know, I'm not going to be perfect, I'm not going to get it right all the time, but this is what I stand for. My peace of mind is my absolute goal.
Definitely. I think, you know, as I say, the negative emotions can be the biggest teacher, because through them you have to do a lot of soul searching, you know, and understanding of why and where these negative emotions are coming from, and what part of you is actually kind of responding, you know, is it your ego, like you say, you know, is it, you know, because you're you know, you're feeling not respected, or you're feeling not listened to, you're feeling, you know, it's a lot of that is the kind of ego self that is, you know, saying, I want to be respected, I want, you know, I want to be heard, I want to be taken notice of, I want you to, you know, listen to me, etc. So, you know, and sometimes it's hard to understand exactly where everything's coming from, but sometimes you need those negative emotions and those experiences of negative emotions to, like I say, take a step back and saying, okay, what am I doing? You know, am I doing things that are beneficial to me and to my peace of mind, to my soul? Am I getting myself caught up in things that aren't beneficial to that? Like you said, the thing is my peace of mind. That is the fundamental thing. Am I doing things that are then going to have a knock-on effect on others because I'm disrupting my own peace? Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely, 100%, Aisha, absolutely. And you know, negative emotions, you know, sometimes it's like you don't need to make the inquiry. Sometimes you just need to acknowledge, like, oh yeah, just okay, fine, that's a trigger, fine. Other times you need to make the inquiry, because what we don't want to do is to be over analyzing ourselves.
Yes,
because that's the other way that the ego can, oh, you're this. You have to search out exactly when it happened. And you know, when I do timeline therapy with my clients, you know, we go back and clear up negative emotions, but it may be an event that they don't consciously remember. They just go back to a time when their unconscious mind wants them to go to clear up this stuff, you know. And I don't need to have a detailed history of all their stories. You know, I actually don't. So in a way, the word therapy is a bit deceiving, because it's not therapy in like the truest sense of the word or the traditional sense of the word. So in a sense, we don't need to actually go through our lives and try and identify, pinpoint every single time, because actually it's just a collection of things over time that kind of build up.
So yeah, one of the problems, I think that's one of the problems with traditional psychotherapies and things like that, where often it is kind of about going into the you know, the muck, if you like, and going through that and you know, trying to find something underneath it, but sometimes they get stuck and, you know, entrenched in the muck in the process without finding the diamond underneath, if you want to call it that. So that it can be quite negative, and it can leave the person, especially if they never get to that and they leave therapy before they've got to the diamond, they're left still within their muck and feeling very negative potentially about themselves, and not actually having got to that true essence and pure essence, which is a still, you know, place.
There's something I was taught from my NLP masters, and one of the things they said is that, think about it this way, if like problems come to us in a moment, don't they? Like in terms of the feelings, and we hold on to that. Why can't we let it go in a moment? And you know, if we're in the right environment, and what says you can't let it go in a moment? Why do you have to go through? And I'm not just disrespecting any other therapies, because there's a therapy for everyone to heal. It's just that sometimes people are in therapies that are not right for them. So who's to say that you can't drop a 30-year problem in an hour session?
Absolutely.
You know,
I totally believe
you can't drop that. And it's that whole, no, I need to go through 30 years of equivalent therapy to get rid of it. Like, no, you don't. It's a decision you make.
Yeah. I think that's definitely, I would definitely, believe in that, because I think that is one of the big problems. We do kind of think we've got to go through all the mire to get to the goodness, but actually it's not. It is about making a conscious choice, if you like, to say, actually, no, I'm not going to carry on in that way, and I'm going to do things differently. So let's get to how we do things differently. Let's get to, I know you've got a lot of, you've obviously worked with quite a few different people, and give us some tips on the sort of strategies and techniques and things that you might do to try and move somebody along.
Okay, so it really depends on where you want to go, and what is it that you want to achieve in your life. Yeah, so it's really, as I said, it's about getting still and tapping into your internal soul. And then it's also really thinking about, what is it that I really want in my life? Because if you don't know what you want, if you don't know what the destination is, how are you going to get there? Yeah. So really, what's a really good tool to use is like the wheel of life, where you put like 6 areas down of your life. You see where you are in those areas from a scale of 1 to 10. And then you do another wheel and say, well, where do you want to be? And then you find out, well, what is the difference between those 2 wheels? Okay, what's the things that are showing up? Because even though you have a destination and you think, I want to improve in this area, let's say health. Yeah. What is stopping you? Yeah. So it's first about raising the awareness. That's all about raising awareness. Think about where you are, where you want to be, and raise the awareness as to the things that are getting in the way. So not only the physical things, but as we've spoken about, the beliefs and thoughts, the emotions, and the stories that you're telling yourself. All right. So once you are aware of that, some things you can immediately drop. Yeah. Some things you can just let go of, just like that. Other things you may find it less easy to let go of. And that's when I would say, in the true nature of my profession, is that you would need to seek some kind of guidance and some kind of help from a mentor, a role model that has already, made those changes, a coach, and to really start to look into those things just for yourself. Because as women, we do not take time for ourselves. Many of my clients, they find it a bit weird talking about themselves for an hour, or just concentrating on what they want, Aisha. It's weird for them. This is all about you.
I think it is very weird for women, I think, because we kind of, quite often are thinking about what other people want from us in different ways, more than ourselves, so it can be quite, I think for a lot of women, it can be quite a jarring thing to suddenly think, hang on, what do I want? Sometimes they've, you hear sorts of stories about people who feel that they've lost themselves, for example. They, whatever they did before they were in a relationship, for example, they might feel that since they've been in that relationship, they've lost a part of themselves, or some element of themselves, and they don't know quite how to get that back. So
exactly. But once you raise the awareness around it, you can decide, do I want that back? Or not,
or something different entirely.
Absolutely, because we all change. We all change over time. So one of the things, when I first became Muslim, I'm going to go there, I hope you don't mind, I'm going to go there.
Absolutely fine.
You have this very sort of, is it polarized view that you need to drop everything that you used to do and step into this mold of a good Muslim woman and a good Muslim wife. So for many years, unbeknown to me, I dropped things that actually took away from the essential essence of who I am. All right. I've now integrated those things back in. Okay. Because now I'm like a fuller version of myself. Now I have a different perception and embodiment. I think that's the right word, but relationship with God. And it's a much more expansive one than it was when I became Muslim over 20 years ago. All right. So it's really, it's about going through those changes and really understanding, what is it that you want? That is the first thing. Then we can go into the do this, do that, change that mindset. Let's do some timeline therapy on that, set up that habit. But if you do not raise awareness and shine the light on it, you'll just keep falling into the same patterns. And as I said, there's some things we can just deal with. some things that are just, but there's other things that need a little bit more attention, and that's where support and help from, professionals or people in the community that have gone through that process can be of service.
Definitely. So, I mean, we've talked about, what do you make of goal setting then? Because they were talking a bit about goal setting in the last one. I mean, is that, you talk about do timeline, this, you talk about other things there. So is that something you adhere to, this sort of idea of goal setting, or is it more of an ongoing system approach?
Okay, very interesting, because there's different views around goal setting. Okay, very, like really, if you go down to like the purest, abundance or subconscious mind thinkers, they're like, don't worry about that, just think, just embody the abundance and it will just come to you. All right. I like to use both, right? Not the best of goal setters, and I think that's because I like to be free flowing. All right. But it's something that I know is very, very, very important. So it's something I've had to work on over the past few months, most definitely. Even as a coach, I've had to work on that myself. And it's about finding a system that suits you, because there's not just one way to set goals. And it's also about using a system that makes you feel free and easy and empowered. Yeah. So we, in NLP and timeline therapy, there's a technique where you put the goal in the future and you visualize, and, you roll it back, and you sort of like unconsciously recognize the things you'll be doing up until that point. But you still need to make sure, that you're dealing with any emotions, any thoughts, any beliefs that could get in the way of that goal. It's a constant, you have to constantly work on yourself. So yes, I do believe in goal setting, but I think goal setting in and of itself as an activity can be very empty if you don't get the stuff on your unconscious mind right.
Yeah. And also the system, like you said, you mentioned system, because I know my husband's very much about, there seems to be the difference between goal setting and systems thinking. He's very much into the systems thinking, which is more about putting a system in place which will eventually lead to their goals, but that is a regular thing that you can implement.
I think with anything in life, you have to do something that is in aligned with who you are. So what I found is that when I tried different goal systems, it just wasn't in alignment with who I am. Yeah. So I need to just set big goals, just have some key things that I need to achieve in to get to the big goal, and plan my week. That's how I do it.
Yeah. So that's your system, is the planning of the week, really, is putting things in place.
Absolutely. But it wasn't always like that. It wasn't always like that, but it's something that I've been able to embody and be able to do, and it suits me. It really does. It really suits me.
So I just want to move on to, there's something else that you mentioned to me that you are launching that I wanted to touch on, which you said, I think it's Sincerely Your Sister. Am I getting that right?
Yes, yeah. Okay, so yeah, it's a wonderful project that I am doing with a lady called Rahana and Amina, and we've come together just in January, actually, to put together a forum whereby sisters can have open conversations, because we're recognizing now that with lockdown, there's going to be a lot of people that are on their own. It's about, community. And one of the things that have come up in our discussions is the whole thing of sisterhood. All right. What does real sisterhood mean? Yeah. So it's about having those honest, open conversations, and always wrapped up, in honesty, love, and, just that a safe environment where we can share. So it's just for Muslim sisters, and it will be launching on Sunday, the 24th.
Right, that's next week, right? Next Sunday.
It will be on via Zoom. But it's an initiative that's a beautiful one, and let's just see how it goes. It might be just for lockdown, it might be further than that. We'll see.
So how do people link up with that then, if they're interested in finding out more about it?
We have a Facebook page called Sincerely Your Sister, and just to look out for any announcements on that. We'll be doing a little pre-launch this week, just a little 15 minutes pre-launch this week, and also we're on Instagram as well.
That's great.
Sincerely Your Sister.
Sincerely Your Sister. So for those people who are out there who are interested in that, we will put the links down below in the video. So hopefully you can link up with that. And also, obviously, we'll put links to all Aziza's ventures, all her websites, etc., Instagram, anything else that we might have there, so that you can link up and get in touch if you would like to work with Sister Aziza. Inshallah, that will be how we can do that. So I just want to thank you very much for
Pleasure.
that.
Pleasure.
It's been a really nice conversation, and I'm sure we could have talked for hours and hours, even longer. But we'll leave it there for now. Maybe we'll come back and do another one in later on.
I'd love to, Aisha. I'd love to. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.
All right, take care. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Take care. Thanks.
Thanks again for watching. Please do like and subscribe. We also really value your feedback, so please leave your comments in the section below.